Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jai Om Vishnupat Paramahansa Parivracharya Asrutra Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Abhay Charna Ravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki, ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Ki, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Sham Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki, वृंदावन धाम की, मथुरा धाम की, नवदीप धाम की, श्री जगन्नाथ स्वामी की, यमुना माई की, श्रीमती तुलसी देवी की, सामवेद भक्त वृंद की, निताई गौर प्रेमानंदी. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Gurudev ki jai. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutlaya Srimate Bir Krishna Goswamini Te Namne Namo Hamsa Nikashaya Prabhupada Priyate Shrutitashti Nishtha Bhemtasya Vakya Nuvadine. Okay. Good morning and Hare Krishna to everyone. So welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class, and we are speaking from Canto 3, Chapter 25, which is titled Glories of the Devotional Service, and we are reading from text 30 this morning. Welcome to all our online Mayapur TV viewers, as well as ISKCON Sydney YouTube and Facebook. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devam Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudiraye Nasta Prayashu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Okay. Tad etan me vijanihi. Is it vijanihi? Yes. Yathaham mandadhir hare. Sukham buddheya durbodham Yosha bhavad anugrahat Tad etan me vijanihi Yathaham mandadhir hare Sukham buddheya durbodham Yosha bhavad anugrahat Tad etan me vijanihi Yathaham mandadhir hare Sukham bodheya durbodham Yosha bhavad anugrahat Tad etan me vijanihi Yathaham mandadhir hare Sukham buddhyeya durbodham Yosha bhavad anugraha Tad etan me vijanihi यथाहं मन्दधीर हरे सुखं बुधेय योषा भवत् अनुग्रहात् तदेतन्मे विजानीहि यथाहं मन्दधीर हरे सुखं मे योषा भवत् अनुग्रहात् तदेतन्मे विजानीहि यथाहं मन्दधीर हरे सुखं बुद्धेय दुर्बोधम् योषा भवत् अनुग्रहात्. Okay. Tad etad, that same, may, to me, vijanihi, please explain, yatha, so, that, aham, I, manda, slow, thee, whose intelligence, hare, O my Lord, sukham, easily, buddheya, may understand, durbodham, very difficult to understand, yosha, a woman, bhavat anugrahat, by your grace. Okay, so we've got the translation and purport by His Divine Grace. I see Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, so it's an interesting translation. Translation reads, my dear son Kapila, after all, I am a woman. It is very difficult for me to understand the absolute truth because my intelligence is not very great. But if you will kindly explain to me, even though I am not very intelligent, I can understand it and thereby feel transcendental happiness. So we can all repeat, my dear son Kapila, after all, I am a woman. It is very difficult for me to understand the absolute truth because my intelligence is not very great. But if you will kindly explain it to me, even though I am not very intelligent, I can understand it and thereby feel transcendental happiness. Okay, so the purport. Knowledge of the absolute truth is not very easily understood by ordinary, less intelligent men. But if the spiritual master is kind enough to the disciple, however unintelligent the disciple may be, then by the divine grace of the spiritual master, everything is revealed. So here we can see the key is the spiritual master. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur therefore says, Yasya Prasada, by the mercy of the spiritual master, the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavat Prasada, is revealed. Devahuti requested her great son to be merciful towards her because she was a less intelligent woman and also his mother. By the grace of Kapila Dev, it was quite possible for her to understand the absolute truth, even though the subject matter is very difficult for ordinary persons, especially women. Okay, so Mangal Charan. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manopistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swa Padantikam Vande Ham Shri Gurum Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीन बंधु जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमस्तुते तप्त कंचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशकल्पतृभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधु एव च पतितनां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधारा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So today is a very interesting topic. Devahuti, as you know, she is the mother of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kapila Dev. And her husband has renounced and left for the forest, leaving her with a son, in the care of a son. And she lived the life of opulence, zooming around everywhere, all over the universe in a celestial airplane that was just like a huge city with lots of maidservants and people. So she led a opulent life, serving her husband, now who has headed to the forest. And so she's left bereft. And she's thinking that she's been so much into material opulences and things. So now it is just like her husband, time for her to renounce and know transcendental knowledge and deliver herself spiritually. In other words, get close to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. And the funny thing is that she is already close to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is a son. And here she is presenting herself as a woman with less intelligence. Because generally it is said that women are less intelligent. Now these women, who are these women who are less intelligent? They are women who are not devotees, who have not been spiritually enlightened. And the same goes for those actually who are not women and are not spiritually realized. They are less intelligent. In other words, intelligence means someone who has realized that they should be Krishna conscious or devotional service. So just stopping a little bit on Devahuti. Devahuti was presenting herself to be very humble. She actually is not humble. Not a humble soul, an ordinary woman. Any woman who is exalted enough to give birth to the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself is not ordinary, neither in a humble position compared to other souls. So why did she do that? Well, we just recited this morning, Trinadapi Sunichena Taror Api Sahisnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtanya Sadahari. What does that particular shlok mean? One should chant the holy names of the Lord, thinking oneself to be lower than the straw and more humble than a blade of grass. So she was giving us a perfect example of Trinadapi Sunichena. And she is no ordinary soul. She has already produced the Supreme Personality of Godhead. She's like Devaki. They are worshipable. So just like Devaki and Yashodamai, they gave birth to Lord Krishna. So still she is, and she was in an age, not even Kali Yuga like us. So it is a food for thought. When I was reading this last night, say someone like Devahuti came to, or was present in Kali Yuga, how would she be treated? Because right now, we shouldn't really touch on this. It's always very delicate subject. But right now there's a struggle going on, lady gurus and all that. So I'm thinking if she was here, someone as exalted as her, how would she have been treated? Because there is a difference between recognizing a highly intelligent and on a spiritual level ladies compared to ordinary ladies. They're not ordinary, they are worshipable. So leaving that aside, she's setting us a perfect example of of Trinadapi Sunichena, thinking of oneself more humble than the straw on the street. That's one. Secondly, she's giving us a very good example of inquiring submissively to a spiritual master. Because without a spiritual master, one cannot make it to Godhead. Right? So, I think this is a little bit loose. Must be loose. Is it? Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. So, thank you. So, I was doing some research last night. Because first thing I actually noticed was the state in this Devahuti puts herself, first of all, humble. And secondly, inquire submissively, where could I find further reference? And if you go to Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4.34, so this might be something that you want to note down. Bhagavad Gita 4.34, it says, Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashna sevaya upadekshayanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshina. You know what that means? Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. So here, she's not just displaying Trinadapi Sunichena. She's actually giving a perfect example of what has been written in the Bhagavad Gita 4.34. If you want to know the secret to getting close to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it's there in the Bhagavad Gita as mentioned by Lord Krishna himself. So here she is humbling herself, telling Krishna, I'm a mere woman, I have no intelligence, when she is exalted enough to produce a Supreme Personality of Godhead. So thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street, that's one. Secondly, she displays Bhagavad Gita 4.34, one must inquire submissively. Now, that one is very well tailored in Chaitanya Charimrita as well. Chaitanya Charimrita, Madhya Lila, 19.151. And this is a famous one. Brahmanda Brahmate Kona Bhagavan Jiva Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. Without the spiritual master, you don't get Krishna Prasada. You don't get. So how do you, so first of all, Srila Prabhupada says, I was listening to Prabhupada's class as well. So Srila Prabhupada said, one must inquire submissively. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita 4.34. And then it's also stated in Chaitanya Charimrita, Madhya Lila, 19.151. Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. So how do you actually inquire submissively? That was the question. Okay, so you've got a spiritual master in mind. Here Devahuti is asking the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself to be her spiritual master. And so you might, how do you actually inquire submissively? And Srila Prabhupada gave us gave me the idea, because I was listening to his class yesterday. He said, you have to please the Supreme spiritual master, you have to please him by devotional service. That's really how you do it. So you have to make the spiritual master happy by your service. In other words, there has to be humility, like Trinadapi Sunichena. You have to inquire, but you have to also have the service attitude. So there's quite a few things involved here. Service attitude. Humility, service attitude. The spiritual master will see that you are in a very humble, submissive mood. And that one is actually not artificial. That's another thing. It is mostly quite natural. It has to come through within you. So then where do you get that naturally? There's so many questions asked one after another. Well, how do I become submissive enough? How do I become humble enough? How do I have the devotional attitude, service attitude? Where does all this come from? I mean, where, because it's supposed to come naturally. Like, it's not something that is you put on an artificial, you could do it, you could mimic that, but nobody will be fooled, especially not the spiritual master. The spiritual master will know straight away, this person is, just here for show, or trying to be artificial, or is after some, ulterior motive or something like that. So where do you get the sincerity? Well, we did this class the other day about the heart being not purified enough. Remember that one? And the class said that in order to purify the heart, what's the first one in Shikshastakam, the first verse? Cheto Darpana Marjanam. So here's another one of the Shikshastakam example that Devahuti states. Cheto Darpana Marjanam. In other words, we purify the heart by chanting the holy names of the Lord. So we've got to be in a pure state in order to achieve that state of humility, to inquire submissively, in order to please the spiritual master with the service attitude, in order to be more humble than the straw in the street, blade of grass. In order to achieve all that, you've got to purify yourself. So all these things are connected. They're all quite connected. So then chanting becomes the very important key thing in there. And Prabhupada said in his class, the first step to this is jivadoy. We have to control the tongue. We've got many senses, right? The most important of the senses is your tongue. Use the tongue for chanting. That's what he said. Jivadoy. Jivadoy. Jiva means the tongue. So, in order to use the senses, so there is senses involved, humility, service attitude, inquire submissively, spiritual master, lots of things. And Devahuti here is setting an example for all. Not only that, she's in a woman's body. So she's setting an example, perfect example of what a devotional life is and how to go about it and inquire submissively. So, chanting. So Prabhupada actually, he mentioned quite a few shlokas which I went through, and he also gave a very good example in the Bhagavad Gita 7.8. 7.8 in the Bhagavad Gita, he had said, Manushayanam shaheshreshu kaschit yatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam vetti tatvataha. What does that mean? Out of many thousands of men, among many thousands of men, one may endeavor for perfection. And of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. So, how many people are here in the temple today? 1, 2, in this temple room anyway. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So, do you think how many of us out of the 8 would make it to understand Krishna perfectly? Because out of many thousands of men. So, you have to look at it in that way that, you could endeavor. How many of us will really actually make it? And in Chaitanya Charimrita, there is another verse, Chaitanya Charimrita Madhya Lila 19.150. I won't read the shlok, but it says, "O great sage, out of many millions of materially liberated people, many millions of materially liberated people who are free from ignorance, and out of many millions of siddhas who have nearly attained perfection, there is hardly one pure devotee of Narayan. Hardly one. Only such a devotee is actually completely satisfied and peaceful." There you go. So, out of many millions. And Devahuti is standing right there in front of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right there. So, that's how hard it is, strictly. So, what's the point then? Am I saying that there's no point in endeavoring? You're not going to make it out of the 1 millions? not so much. That's not true. It is also said in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and even the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the Bhagavad Gita, Kali Yuga, Sukadev Goswami, let's take him for an example. So I'm trying to make the point. Are you going to be able to make it out of the millions? So Sukadev Goswami, when he was talking to Parikshit Maharaj, he actually pointed out the many defects, many thousands, hundreds, thousands of defects living entities face because they cannot perfect themselves spiritually. And he listed them, first of all, we have imperfect senses, we are under material modes of nature, all these things. And there's a whole list, long list. And he said to Parikshit Maharaj that it's very difficult to deliver, but there's a beauty part of Kali Yuga. One very nice advantage to Kali Yuga. And I think you know that one. May I ask, anyone knows what it is about Kali Yuga? Yes. Yes. Yeah, we have the holy names. That's the very easy one, very easy part. We have the holy names. And that is by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was having this discussion with Ramananda Raya, one of his confidant associates. And he was asking about this spiritual advancement, spiritual life, what is perfect, what should one do, all these things. And they came to this conclusion, Ramananda Rai said, Varnashram system is the best, where people, one of the best, where you are categorized in the 4 categories, either you are a Brahmin or a Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, according to your occupation. If you occupy yourself and you apply yourself and practice devotional service, then you will be fine. Then you will make it, because you are doing the right things. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, and he also of course said, but it is very difficult in Kali Yuga. There is no pure Brahmin. No one can actually observe the rules of a Brahmin in this age. It's just too difficult. If you look at the long list, it's too difficult. So what to do? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, the holy names, Cheto Darpana Majanam. So that's why he set that example for conditioned souls like us. In order for us to even get to that platform to inquire submissively to the spiritual master. Even to get to that platform, chanting. And so, because why we want to do all those things? Why do we actually want to, inquire? Why do we want to be humble? Why do we want to, this knowledge, what is the whole point? Any ideas? Why are we doing this anyway in the first place? Yes, to attain the perfection of life. What is the perfection of life? To attain Krishna. And the only way to attain Krishna is to understand Krishna and love Krishna and have Krishna accept us. So Prabhupada had said, if we are imperfect, we have imperfect senses, how are we ever going to understand Krishna? And if we can't understand Krishna, how can we love Krishna? If you cannot understand a person, how can you love them? You don't even know them properly. So we have to get to that stage. And because we have imperfect senses, because we are not purified enough, because we are not humble enough, because there are hundreds and thousands of defects in this day and age, it's very difficult. No one has fully, truly understood Krishna. So it is quite difficult. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was having this discussion with Ramananda Rai, he discussed all these points that we are facing today. He discussed all of them. And he said, yeah, best thing is to just chant. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And there you go. And he was distributing love for Krishna, Prema Krishna freely Just imagine if you were there at that time when Lord Chaitanya was around. Because he was just handing it out, the love for Krishna. That very, point that I'm trying to make, that very point that Devahuti is making here. She says, I cannot understand. I cannot understand the absolute truth. I cannot understand Supreme Personality of Godhead, cannot attain the love. She actually loves Kapil Dev as her son, so she's already got it, the love for God. But she's inquiring on our behalf because foolish conditioned souls like us one day will be sitting around thinking about the same thing that Devahuti is inquiring. So she's being kind to us, really, by setting that example. And she's also setting example to ladies, being in a woman's body. So we take, guidance from this particular pastime. And this love for Godhead, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving out so freely. Here you take, here you take. That's what Srila Prabhupada was saying in his class. Really. And that's what we need to do. Now, he said one other thing. It's actually connected. Krishna gives Guru, right? Krishna gives Guru. And Guru gives Krishna. So Krishna is the one who gives the Guru, right? We pray to Lord Krishna, please give us a spiritual master. And the spiritual master gives us Krishna. That is the beauty part of it. It is very, very much connected. And he touched on something else that was very, very important, which was, I will just check that because I can never remember, so I have to put it in my phone. It's in Bhagavad Gita 4.2. Bhagavad Gita 4.2. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo vidhu. Sa kalenaha mahata yoga nashta parantapa. What does that mean? That means the spiritual supreme science was thus received through a chain of disciplic succession. So if you want to know what is the reference for disciplic succession in the Bhagavad Gita, it is chapter 4, text 2, 4.2. And the kings, saintly kings understood it in that way, but in course of time, the succession was broken. So he's explaining to Arjun that the disciplic succession was broken, so he had to come down and deliver the same knowledge again, re-establish it. So now, so we have to inquire from someone who has inquired it from his guru and his guru all the way up to the word of God directly. So the Bhagavad Gita. So that's why it's important to choose a bona fide spiritual master. So it is actually there in black and white in the Bhagavad Gita, 4 point, whatever number that was it 4.2 or 4.2? So that's disciplic succession. So a lot of references and things have been made in the Bhagavad Gita. Like, for example, inquire submissively. And then the disciplic succession, Trinadapi Sunuchena, Cheto Darpana Marjanam, they are all connected. All of them. And then obviously Chaitanya Charimrita, it says, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai, Bhakti Lata Bij. They're all connected. So that was really the gist of it. And then obviously the whole point was that we would find Krishna Prema, love for Krishna. That's why we are doing all these things, to deliver ourselves. And then the key was the spiritual master. Now the spiritual master, another thing was mentioned. Spiritual master is actually worshipable. Why? Any answers to that? Yes. That's right. He's no different to Krishna. He's a representative of Lord Krishna. And not only he's a representative of Krishna, he is a dear servant of Krishna. He is spreading the name of Lord Krishna, and he is extremely dear, he or she. because they are lady. I shouldn't be putting that in practice, but in any case, they are lady Siksha Diksha Gurus too, which is under some controversies at the moment. But we had Janava Mata, and we had other lady gurus in our parampara before. So now they are representatives of Lord Krishna, but because they are dear to Lord Krishna, because they are like a genuine bona fide servant of Krishna, they are worshipable. Yasya prasada bhagavad prasado. They give us Krishna. So all of that combined. And so that was really the whole point. And at the end of the day, you just have to purify yourself. You just have to purify yourself by chanting. And that really was like the whole point of the class. And then only you can understand Krishna. And then you can progress in life. And Devahuti was a perfect example. One of the perfect examples. So it's a very short class today. We have 5 minutes early, but we can have some questions if you have any questions or comments. Yes. 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 Mm. Mm. Okay. Mm. Correct. Yes, correct. Mm-hmm. Okay, so a couple of things. First of all, mention of Hare normally is referred to Srimati Radharani, and in this particular shlok it's described as Hare is Lord Krishna. Now Hare is Krishna's energy anyway, and so he is Lord Srimati Radharani is part of Krishna, Krishna's energy. So we could even say that she is Krishna, because she's his energy. That was one thing I would pick up on. And another one is Hare is very similar to Hari, Lord Hari, just the A and E. So, but this is Srila Prabhupada's words. And obviously that Srimati Radharani is part of, is Krishna, his energy. That's one. Now, the other part of the question was, what was the prescribed duties that Kapil Dev gave to Devahuti? Because the spiritual master, he gives, the prescription for the disciple to do certain things, service that would deliver, right? So what was it that Kapil Dev told Devahuti to do? I mean, did she go to the forest to renounce? What did she actually do? Now, I'm pretty sure she didn't go to the forest because she was under the care of her son. So she would have spent her life, but I'd have to double check this. It's in the book of Lord Kapila Dev's teachings. So the next class when I do come, I'll just do a little bit of research to see exactly what it is she did. My understanding is she didn't go to the forest, her husband did. He would have, yes, at some point. Yes, true. So, but in that, there is a few things to note. One of them is that the spiritual master looks at the particular nature of the disciple. which my spiritual master calls a psychophysical nature. In other words, whatever the disciple is inclined to. So some of them do preaching work, and so they get that particular service. Some of them are good in cooking or something like that, or whatever is natural, comes natural. So that is prescribed for us. And the spiritual master knows, because they have the empowerment to know such things. And that's why the disciple is engaged in such service. Now, why am I talking about that? Because it is devotional service that delivers a person. So the end conclusion that Kapil Dev gave to Devahuti was, devotional service is the key to your liberation, key to you knowing Krishna and loving Krishna, serving Krishna in terms of your relationship with Krishna. Right? So he would have prescribed the devotional, but she was actually the mother of God anyway. So that was the relationship she was fully realized anyway. But in our case, we are not. So in that sense, the spiritual master engages us in that particular service. Like for me, I was told to preach at a very early stage. I was not even initiated. Reason was that I was a teacher, and so I had a natural ability to deliver knowledge. Natural ability. So he ended up giving me his whole library. Kind of one thing led to another. It wasn't that I had to preach that he gave me the books. It is because I asked for the Srimad Bhagavatam and he gave me the whole library. So when I gave him my iPad, he downloaded the entire library on my iPad. So, but one of the first things he said, well, one of them was to cook for Gopinath, because they didn't have a cook. But now you have many cooks, so I'm not needed. That was one. Second one was just preach. He said, maybe you can preach. At that time I was in Parramatta. So why am I telling you all this? Because then when you do that, your service will purify you along with the chanting, and you will come to that position of understanding exactly how to serve Krishna. When you know how to serve Krishna, your relationship with Krishna manifests. Now, the question is, a lot of us ask, what is my service? What is my relationship with Krishna? The key to that is also the spiritual master. The spiritual master will reveal your relationship with Krishna. The spiritual master is the one to reveal your relationship. The spiritual master is the one to give you your service. Whatever service it is, he will say, okay, you might like to do this, you might like to do that. That in itself reveals your relationship. So with Devahuti, I'll need to do some more reading to know exactly and specifically what Kapil had told her. But the bottom line was, his answer was that it's the devotional service that would deliver her. Devotional service. And in our interest, our best interest, it is a spiritual master who gives us the devotional service. And once we get to that stage, then when we listen to Krishna Katha, his name, his form, his qualities, his pastimes, we will be able to relish it with full 100%, nectar. We will be able to relish it properly. Otherwise, it is just like, what is it? It's casting your pearls before the swine. They will read it, but they will not relish it like a devotee. So it is all connected. If I start with the Katha of Krishna saying, he's stealing butter, he's running around, hiding from his mom and, feeding the butter to the monkeys and, really being naughty to all the gopis and, hiding from the gopis as well, stealing their clothes, stealing their butter. What else is he going to steal? He's doing all these things. And he's so sweet doing that. He's cute. And people are like sadhus and sages and rishis and rolling around in ecstasy, listening to all his naughtiness, really. Stealing and hiding. He's even lying, I didn't do it. Somebody else did it. So if I were to go into a string of story like that, who's going to appreciate that unless they are devoted in devotional service, obviously, but purified in the heart. purified in the heart, they'd be able to understand it much better. If I were to give this story to somebody on the street, who's not a devotee, they will say, well, yeah, but why would a little kid run around and steal butter? And why would you be so happy listening to that? It won't mean anything to them. So it is really important to continuously chant, continuously purify the heart, take association, but constantly listen to Krishna Katha. And the more you listen to, the stories and pastimes, in my classes so far, I have not really read out any of the classes. Maybe I can incorporate Katha, Krishna Katha, from the library that Gurudev gave me. Maybe I'll read out in the next one. Just to maybe give you a gauge, like you can see how much you relish it. Are you, do you really get it? Or are you just listening to it? Do you understand it? Or we don't normally do that in class to read some random katha, but just a small something. It is good to talk about Krishna, his pastimes, his qualities. Maybe I will read something. And you see, but you'd be able to figure that out yourself anyway. If you pick up the Krishna book and you read it, how interesting it is to you, you'll know where you are, at what stage you are anyway. So hope that answers the question. Are there any other comments or questions? No? Okay, thank you very much for listening. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Puran Ki Jai.